Hello, my name's Ian Hollenby. I lead a team of engineers that head up the Cortex control and monitoring system for Axon. Cortex is a monitoring application that runs on Windows that will be responsible for configuring and maintaining your Synapse system. One of the beauties of Synapse as a system is that it uses ACP, which is an Axon control protocol, and all of the cards that we've launched since the product's inception in 2001 uses this protocol. So Cortex is completely backward compatible with any product that we've shipped since 2001 and will work obviously in the future for all of the cards that we launch this year and next year and for the next 5 years. Let me just show you what the standard version of Cortex looks like. Cortex is a freely distributable application from the website, so you can download it and install it on your system. And fundamentally, it consists of a number of views. We have the system view down the left-hand side, which shows you all of the cards within your system. It'll automatically detect all the frames that are on your network, and it will use the card as the database for the configuration settings for that card. So it's completely benign and won't disturb your system in any way. But then it will give you a hierarchical status of the status of your complete system in one window. So from a single icon at the top of the system view, we'll be able to detect what the status of the whole complete system is. If I drill down into a frame and actually select a card, then it will show me the settings for that card. So if I select, for example, a DLA44 loudness control processor, it will give me all of the configuration and status items for that in the various different tabs. And I will clearly be able to see the control and the monitoring aspects of that card. The monitoring of the card is shown in the dialog here, and all of the status items for that card can be seen quite clearly. We will highly colorize that monitoring to give you instant recognition of where any problems might lay. So for example, I have no audio on this card at the moment, and I can see clearly that it's highlighted here. If I turn the input monitoring on, then I can now see my input levels coming into the system in an instantly recognizable form with the ppm meters. A really neat feature is the capability of just going to the manual for that device in the same application. So if I want to hunt for some information, it's very easy to get that information. If I select another card, like a GRB 100, again, the manual instantly appears in the window. The standard Cortex product will show you all of the control and monitoring aspects of a card when you select them. However, if you were to use this in an operational area, then in fact there's too much information there for most operators to assimilate to. So that's why we have cost options that you can put onto Cortex that allow you to customize your Cortex interface to only show you those parts of the system that you need, and also to show them in the context in which they're being used. So for example, if you're in a transmission chain environment and you have one card followed by another, then obviously the system view doesn't give you any kind of context of that. But we have the first cost option, which is our panel viewer cost option, which will enable another couple of views on your Cortex system. And with a freeform form designer, you can create a graphical user interface to be very suitable for the operators in which they're using that particular part of the infrastructure. So, for example, if I show you a couple of examples of how that works, I can enable a control view here, and I can actually hide my system view, and I can hide all the other views around it, and now I get a completely different aspect of Cortex as a product, because now I've created a user interface that's very specific to a particular application. Again, I can give you another example of how this works. I could actually look at a signal flow, for example, and that would actually show clearly a representation of how the modules are linked together. The second cost option that we have on Cortex is the router control cost option. That allows us to interface to routers natively using their native protocols. And with that cost option, you can obviously make this user interface a bit more dynamic. So you can select the destinations on your router and change sources to that in order to control your particular aspect of the user interface in that way. The third cost option that we have is the SNMP cost option, and that allows us then to integrate third-party devices onto the same control and monitoring system. So if you're looking for a control and monitoring system that encompasses not only Axon product, but other product that you have in your transmission chain, then again, those can be added into your system. And in fact, the status coming from these windows is actually fed from an SNMP device. So we're picking up the video format, the audio format, and they can be reflected in exactly the same way as a Synapse device on your system. If you haven't got room for a software panel, then Cortex can also have a hardware panel interface. And here we have the first of a range of panels that we'll be launching this year, which is a 16 LCD key panel. And anything that I can control from a Cortex environment within the software interface, I can do exactly the same likewise. So I can control the preset of a multi-viewer, as well as going in and changing a color corrector, as well as going to an output on my system and changing the source to that output. Cortex is a very flexible and configurable system, and I would advise you to check it out from our website.